The moment Emma walked into the upscale restaurant wearing torn jeans, a faded hoodie and muddy sneakers, every head turned. Whispers rippled through the dining room like wildfire. The maitre d's face tightened with barely concealed disapproval. A woman in pearls clutched her handbag closer, but Emma didn't notice any of it. Her mind was still, replaying the scene from 30 minutes. Earlier, the homeless woman collapsed on the sidewalk, the crowd that walked past without stopping, and the choice Emma made that would change everything. She spotted him immediately. Ryan Mitchell sat at table 7, exactly where the dating app said he'd be, even from across the room. She could see he was out of her league. Tailored navy suit, perfect posture, the kind of confidence that comes from corner offices and board meetings. Emma almost turned around. She looked down at the dirt under her fingernails, at the coffee stain on her sleeve that wasn't there when she left her apartment. This was a disaster, but she'd promised herself she'd try. After 2 years of failed relationships and countless canceled dates, her best friend had convinced her to give love one more shot. Just be yourself, Rachel had said. Well, this was herself, messy, imperfect, and apparently incapable of making it. Through a single evening without some kind of catastrophe. Ryan looked up as she approached, and Emma braced herself for the inevitable disappointment in his eyes. Instead, he stood, smiled, and pulled out her chair. "Emma?" "I'm so sorry," she blurted out, sliding into the seat. "I know I look terrible. There was this woman and she was sick, and I couldn't just—" She stopped, realizing she was rambling. "I'm sorry. I should probably just go." "Don't apologize." Ryan's voice was gentle, his dark eyes curious rather than judgmental. "Tell me what happened." And so she did. The words tumbled out. How she'd been walking to the restaurant, 15 minutes early because she was nervous. How she'd seen the elderly woman, crumpled on the ground, outside a closed bookstore, shaking and pale. How everyone kept walking, checking their phones, pretending not to see. Emma had knelt beside her, ruining her good jeans on the grimy pavement. The woman was diabetic, hadn't eaten all day. Emma had given her the energy bar from her purse, called 911, and stayed until the ambulance arrived, holding the woman's trembling hand. "I got her purse wet when I spilled my water trying to help her drink," Emma said, gesturing to the stain, "and I didn't have time to go home and change. I know this probably isn't what you expected." "It's exactly what I hoped for," Ryan interrupted quietly. Emma blinked. "What? Do you know why I agreed to meet you?" Ryan leaned forward, his expression serious now. "Your profile didn't have the most glamorous photos. You didn't list impressive job titles or exotic travel destinations. But your bio said, 'I believe in stopping to help someone who's fallen.' I thought it was just words. Most people write beautiful things they don't mean." Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. "It seemed important." "It is important. It's the most important thing." Ryan's jaw tightened, and for a moment, Emma saw something vulnerable beneath his polished exterior. 3 years ago, my mother had a stroke on a busy street in Manhattan. She lay there for 20 minutes while hundreds of people walked by. Some stepped over her. Someone took a photo. Finally, a college kid stopped and called for help. But by then, he paused, collecting himself. The doctors said if someone had helped sooner, the outcome might have been different. "She survived, but she's never been the same." Emma's heart clenched. "I'm so sorry." "I built my company after that," Ryan continued. "Mitchell Technologies. We develop apps that connect people in crisis with immediate help. But technology isn't the real answer, is it? The answer is people like you, who see someone suffering and refuse to look away." The waiter arrived, took their orders, but Emma barely noticed. They talked for hours about Ryan's mother, who was now living in a care facility where he visited her every Sunday, about Emma's work as a teacher in an underfunded public school, where she spent her own money on supplies because the kids deserved better, about dreams and disappointments, about the kind of world they wanted to live in versus the one that often existed. "I have a confession," Ryan said as they finished dessert. "I recognized you when you walked in." Emma's fork paused midway to her mouth. "What?" "Not you specifically, but the look, disheveled, distracted, wearing someone else's crisis on your clothes. I've seen it before." He smiled softly. "My mother used to come home looking like that." She was a nurse, worked in the ER. She'd show up to family dinners with stains on her scrubs, exhausted, sometimes crying because she couldn't save everyone. But she never stopped trying. You reminded me of her, the good version before the stroke. Emma felt tears prick her eyes. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. I'm not finished. Ryan reached across the table, and Emma found her hand in his. I've been on a dozen first dates in the past year. Beautiful women, successful women, women who looked perfect and said all the right things. But when I asked them about their values, about what they'd do if they saw someone in trouble, I got the same answers. I'd call 911 or I'd find someone to help. Nobody said I'd stop. I'd stay. Maybe they just... You're making excuses for them, Ryan said, squeezing her hand gently. That's another thing I like about you. You see the best in people even when they don't deserve it. As they left the restaurant that night, Emma noticed the homeless man sitting near the entrance. Without thinking, she stopped and handed him the leftovers from dinner. Ryan watched her, then pulled out his wallet and gave the man $200. For a hotel room tonight, Ryan said. And breakfast tomorrow. The man's eyes filled with tears. God bless you both. Outside, under the glow of streetlights, Ryan turned to Emma. I know this is crazy. We just met, but I feel like I've been looking for you my entire life. Emma laughed, surprised by her own boldness. Someone who shows up to dates looking like a disaster? Someone who shows up for people who need help even when it costs you something. Even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Even when everyone else walks away. Ryan stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. My whole life, I've been surrounded by people who care about appearances, about status, about looking good. But you care about being good. That's so much rarer. 6 months later, Emma stood in that same restaurant wearing a simple white dress. Ryan's mother was there in her wheelchair, smiling through her limitations. The college kid who'd helped her that day was there too. Ryan had tracked him down and they'd become friends. Rachel was crying happy tears as the maid of honor, and in the front row sat Mrs. Chen, the elderly woman Emma had helped on the sidewalk that first night. She'd insisted on attending, telling anyone who would listen about. The angel who stopped when no one else would. As Emma and Ryan exchanged vows, promising to love and honor each other, Emma thought about the choice she'd made that evening. To stop. To help. To be human in a world that often forgot how. She'd almost stayed home, almost canceled the date, almost walked away when she saw how terrible she looked. But she'd shown up anyway. Imperfect, messy, and authentically herself. And somehow, that had been enough. More than enough. It had been everything. Because true love doesn't fall for the costume. It falls for the character underneath, for the hands willing to get dirty, for the heart willing to break, for the soul brave enough to stop when everyone else keeps walking.